My husband Jason told me my anxiety was destroying our marriage and that he needed therapy just to cope with me. He made me feel like a burden. But then his therapist's office called me about an unpaid bill for couples counseling. When I told the receptionist I'd never been there, she paused and said, "But Mr. Jason and his wife Tiffany come here every Tuesday to prepare for their wedding." But my name is not Tiffany. I stood there in my kitchen, holding a spatula. The marinara sauce on the stove was bubbling. Pop, pop, pop. That was the only sound in the world. "I'm sorry," I said. My voice sounded thin, like it belonged to someone else. "Could you repeat that name?" "Tiffany," the receptionist said. He sounded confused now, flipping through papers. I could hear the rustle on the other end. "Tiffany and Jason Miller. Premarital counseling and conflict resolution. They've been coming every Tuesday at 4 p.m. for 6 months. 6 months. 24 Tuesdays. 24 times my husband had come home, sighed deeply, and told me how draining it was to talk about my issues. To talk about my instability. My manic episodes. "And the bill?" I asked. "How much is it?" "It's past due, ma'am. The card on file was declined. It's for the last 6 sessions plus a cancellation fee. Total is $1,260. $1,200. To plan a wedding. To a woman named Tiffany." My hand started to shake. Not the anxious shake Jason always mocked. Not the tremors he told our friends were a sign of my fragile state. This was different. This was adrenaline. Useful. "I see," I said. "I'll take care of it." "Oh, thank you, Mrs. Miller." We really didn't want to interrupt their progress. Dr. Evans feels they're making such great strides toward their nuptials. Nuptials. The word hung in the air like smoke. I hung up the phone. I looked at the sauce bubbling on the stove. I turned the burner off. I didn't cry. That's the funny part. Jason always told me I was too emotional. Too reactive. That I cried if the wind blew the wrong way. But right now, I felt nothing but a cold, hard clarity. I walked to the living room window. I looked out at the driveway. His car would be pulling in any minute. He liked dinner on the table at 6:30 sharp. If it wasn't, he'd ask if I'd had a bad day, in that soft, patronizing voice that made me want to scream. He'd ask if I needed my meds adjusted. He'd tell me he loved me despite how hard I made it. I watched a squirrel run across the lawn. I remembered the day we bought this house. My inheritance paid the down payment. $80,000. My name is on the deed. But he has the office with the mahogany desk. He has the master suite code. He has the power. Or so he thought. The garage door rumbled. He was home. I checked my reflection in the hallway mirror. My eyes weren't red. My face wasn't blotchy. I looked normal. "Game time," I whispered. Jason walked in looking exhausted. He always looked exhausted. It was part of the performance. The weary martyr coming home to his crazy wife. He loosened his tie. "Hey babe, smells good. Did you remember to put the oregano in this time?" A small dig. Right off the bat. "I did," I said. I was standing by the island chopping parsley. The knife hit the cutting board with a steady rhythm. Flip, flip, flip. "How was therapy?" He stopped. He rubbed his temples, closing his eyes like he was in physical pain. "Brutal. Honestly, it was brutal. Dr. Evans really grilled me today about your hoarding tendencies." My hoarding tendencies. I looked around our spotless kitchen. The minimalist counters. The organized spice rack. I owned 3 pairs of jeans. "I didn't know I was hoarding," I said softly. "It's emotional hoarding, babe," he said, walking over to kiss me on the forehead. He smelled like vanilla. Sugary, cheap vanilla. "Tiffany, you hold on to grudges. You clutter our emotional space. Dr. Evans says I need to set firmer boundaries with you or I'm going to burn out." He opened the fridge and grabbed a sparkling water. It's expensive, Jason," I said, testing him. "Maybe we should stop going. Or you should stop going." He slammed the fridge door. Not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to make me jump. He pointed a finger at me. "See? This is exactly what we talked about today. You try to sabotage my support system. I go there to learn how to help us, to help you, and you complain about the money? Do you have any idea how much pressure I'm under?" "I know," I said. I looked down. "I'm sorry. I work 60 hours a week, Sarah. 60. I pay the mortgage. I pay for your car. I pay for everything because you can't handle a full-time job right now. That was the narrative. The truth? I was a freelance copywriter. I made $65,000 last year. Not a fortune but enough. He made 3 times that, sure. But he didn't pay for everything. We split the bills proportionally. But he managed the accounts. Because math makes you anxious. Because dealing with banks triggers your panic attacks. He sighed, the anger evaporating into that sickeningly sweet pity. Look, I'm sorry, I snapped. It's just. Dr. Evans says we're making a breakthrough. We're finally getting to the root of why you are the way you are. I can't stop now. Okay, I whispered. You're right. I'm sorry. It's okay. I love you. Even when you're being difficult. He walked upstairs to change. I waited until I heard the shower running. I picked up his phone. He was careful usually. Face ID. Complex passcodes. But he was arrogant. He thought I was too medicated, too scattered to notice things. He thought I was stupid. He'd left it on the counter, unlocked, while the screen timeout hadn't hit yet. I didn't need to dig deep. It was right there in his calendar. Tuesday, 4 p.m., prep with Tiff and Evans. Saturday, 1 p.m., cake tasting at Delilah's. Thursday, 6 p.m., jeweler pickup ring. Pickup ring. I looked at my hand. A simple gold band. He told me diamonds were a waste of money. That the diamond industry was a scam. I'd agreed because I loved him and I wanted to be the cool, low-maintenance girl. But for Tiffany got a jeweler appointment. I opened his banking app. He'd changed the password, but I knew his pattern. He used significant dates. Not our anniversary. Not my birthday. I tried the date he got his promotion. No. I tried the date his mother died. No. I tried last Tuesday's date. The date of his therapy. It opened. I scrolled through the transactions. My breath hitched. It wasn't just the therapy bills. The Ritz-Carlton. $800. Zivra. $430. Delta Airlines. 2 tickets to Florence. $4,200. Florence. We had planned to go to Florence for our honeymoon 5 years ago. He canceled it 2 weeks before the wedding. He said we couldn't afford it. He said my anxiety about flying would ruin the trip anyway. So we went to a bed and breakfast 2 hours away. Rained the whole time. I scrolled further. Transferred to Future Fund. $15,000. He was draining our savings. The joint account I contributed to every month. The emergency fund, for if the house needed a roof or if, ironically, one of us got sick. He was stealing my life. Piece by piece. Dollar by dollar. And he was using my mental health as the distraction. I heard the water stop upstairs. I put the phone back exactly where it was. Same angle. Screen facing up. I went back to the cutting board. I wasn't anxious anymore. I was calculating. He came downstairs in his sweatpants. What's for dinner? Pasta, I said. With extra garlic. Just how you like it. I watched him eat. I watched him wipe tomato sauce from his lip. I watched the man who promised to love me in sickness and in health. He looked at me and smiled. You look tired, babe. Are you spiraling again? Maybe a little, I lied. I felt confused. About everything. Don't worry, he said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. His palm was warm. Felt like a branding iron. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of everything. I know you will, I said. And I smiled back. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan. I thought about how we met. Jason wasn't always a monster. Or maybe he was and I was just too desperate to see it. We met at a coffee shop. I was crying over a rejection letter from a grad program. He handed me a napkin and made a joke about the font choice on the letterhead. He was charming. Intense. He listened to me. Back then I was vibrant. I had friends. I went to concerts. My anxiety was a background hum, not a siren. But slowly over 5 years the volume got turned up. Do you really want to wear that? It draws a lot of attention. You know how you get when people stare. Maybe you shouldn't come to the work party. It's going to be loud. I don't want you to have a panic attack in front of the partners. Your friends don't understand you like I do. They think you're flaky. I defend you, but it's hard. He isolated me. He pruned my life until he was the only thing left. And then he told me I was suffocating him. I rolled over and looked at his sleeping face. He looked peaceful. Like a baby. The next morning the gray rock phase began. If you don't know what gray rock is, it's a technique for dealing with narcissists. You become uninteresting. You become a rock. You give them no emotional supply. No tears. No anger. Just bland compliance. Jason, I need you to sign these tax documents, he said over breakfast 2 days later. Usually I would read them. I would ask questions. He would get annoyed. We would fight. This time, hey, I said. I signed without looking. I had already scanned them while he was in the shower. They were standard. He hadn't moved to hide the assets legally yet. He was just stealing the cash. You're not going to read them? He asked, suspicious. I trust you, I said. You're the math guy. I'm just the crazy one, right? He laughed. A short, sharp bark. I never called you crazy, Sarah. I said you were spirited. He left for work. The second his Audi pulled out of the driveway, I was in motion. I didn't go to my desk. I went to the bank. Not our bank. A U one. I opened a checking account in my name only. I transferred exactly half of what was left in the joint savings. $12,500. I left him $12,500. I wasn't a thief. I was taking my share. He looked at me and smiled. You look tired, babe. Are you spiraling again? Maybe a little, I lied. I felt confused. About everything. Don't worry, he said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. His palm was warm. Felt like a branding iron. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of everything. I know you will, I said. And I smiled back. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan. I thought about how we met. Jason wasn't always a monster. Or maybe he was and I was just too desperate to see it. We met at a coffee shop. I was crying over a rejection letter from a grad program. He handed me a napkin and made a joke about the font choice on the letterhead. He was charming. Intense. He listened to me. Back then I was vibrant. I had friends. I went to concerts. My anxiety was a background hum, not a siren. But slowly over 5 years the volume got turned up. Do you really want to wear that? It draws a lot of attention. You know how you get when people stare. Maybe you shouldn't come to the work party. It's going to be loud. I don't want you to have a panic attack in front of the partners. Your friends don't understand you like I do. They think you're flaky. I defend you, but it's hard. He isolated me. He pruned my life until he was the only thing left. And then he told me I was suffocating him. I rolled over and looked at his sleeping face. He looked peaceful. Like a baby. The next morning the gray rock phase began. If you don't know what gray rock is, it's a technique for dealing with narcissists. You become uninteresting. You become a rock. You give them no emotional supply. No tears. No anger. Just bland compliance. Jason, I need you to sign these tax documents, he said over breakfast 2 days later. Usually I would read them. I would ask questions. He would get annoyed. We would fight. This time, hey, I said. I signed without looking. I had already scanned them while he was in the shower. They were standard. He hadn't moved to hide the assets legally yet. He was just stealing the cash. You're not going to read them? He asked, suspicious. I trust you, I said. You're the math guy. I'm just the crazy one, right? He laughed. A short, sharp bark. I never called you crazy, Sarah. I said you were spirited. He left for work. The second his Audi pulled out of the driveway, I was in motion. I didn't go to my desk. I went to the bank. Not our bank. A U one. I opened a checking account in my name only. I transferred exactly half of what was left in the joint savings. $12,500. I left him $12,500. I wasn't a thief. I was taking my share. Yeah. I set up the connection 10 minutes prior. Who sets it up? Me. I looked at Chloe. I saw the disgust in her eyes when she talked about Jason. He knew. Women always know. Chloe, I said. What if Dr. Evans had technical difficulties? What if someone else was in the chair? Chloe stared at me. A slow smile spread across her face. It was a terrifying, beautiful smile. Dr. Evans is terrible with technology, she murmured. He always forgets his password. And if the wife of the patient wanted to wait in the Zen room to surprise her husband? Chloe took the check. She stamped it paid. I'll make sure the door is unlocked at 3:45, she said. And I might take a long bathroom break at 3:55. Thank you. Get him, she whispered. The week of waiting was agony. I had to play the part. I had to be the anxious, unstable wife. On Friday, Jason came home late. Traffic, he said. Did you stop at Delilah's? I asked innocently. I saw a charge for a bakery. He didn't flinch. I got you a scone. But I ate it on the way home. I was starving. I'm sorry, I have no self-control. He was talking about a wedding cake. He was tasting wedding cakes with another woman, paying for it with my money and telling me he ate my scone. It's okay, I said. I'm trying to cut back on sugar anyway. It makes me jittery. Good girl, he said. See? You're learning. Saturday was the worst. He left for the gym for 4 hours. He came back smelling like expensive cologne and champagne. The cake tasting. I sat on the couch folding laundry. You look happy, I said. Endorphins, babe. Workout was great. I imagined him feeding Tiffany a piece of red velvet cake. I imagined her laughing. I wondered if she knew about me. The receptionist thought she did. Or at least she thought I was the ex. Did Jason tell her I was the crazy ex-wife who wouldn't let go? That I was stalking him? That I refused to sign the divorce papers? Probably. That was the classic playbook. Sunday night I packed a bag. Just a small one. Essentials. Passport. Birth certificate. Hard drive with my portfolio. I hid it in the trunk of my car under the spare tire. Monday came. I have a late meeting tomorrow, I told Jason. I might not be home until 7. That's fine, he said, not looking up from his phone. I have therapy at 4, then I'm grabbing drinks with the guys. Don't wait up. Hey. Good luck with Dr. Evans. Thanks. We're really getting into the deep trauma stuff this week. I bet, I said. Tuesday. I woke up at 5 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I dressed in my armor. Not the sweatpants Jason liked me in. A sharp navy blazer. Tailored trousers. Heels that clicked when I walked. I put on makeup. The red lipstick he said was too aggressive. I went to a coffee shop and worked all day. I watched the clock. 12 o'clock. 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock. At 3:30 I drove to the medical building. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Not from fear. From kinetic energy. I felt like a coiled spring. I walked into the lobby. Chloe was there. She didn't say a word. She just nodded and bussed me through the inner door. The hallway was quiet. White noise machines hummed outside every door. I found the Zen room. It was nice. Plush beige sofas. A massive flat-screen TV on the wall. A mahogany coffee table with tissues and a bowl of mints. I sat in the therapist's chair. It was a high-backed leather swivel chair, positioned facing the sofa. I checked the TV. The screen was black. Chloe hadn't turned the Zoom link on. Perfect. I checked my phone. 3:58 p.m. I heard voices in the hall. I'm just saying, Jace, the orchids are going to cost extra, a woman's voice said. High-pitched. Girly. Tiffany. We'll pull it from the renovation budget, Jason's voice. Sarah won't notice. She never looks at the contractor invoices. My stomach dropped. He wasn't just stealing savings. He was padding the invoices for the kitchen remodel we were supposedly saving for. I just want it to be perfect, Tiffany cooed. Our new start. Will be. Once I get her to sign the post-nup amendment, we're clear. Post-nup amendment? He had tried to get me to sign a document last week, claiming it was for tax purposes. I had forgotten to sign it. Thank God. The door handle turned. I spun the chair around so my back was to the door. I heard them walk in. The rustle of coats being taken off. The heavy sigh of Jason sitting down on the sofa. Dr. Evans isn't on screen yet? Jason asked. Receptionist said he's running 5 minutes late, Tiffany said. But look, someone's here. Is that the sub? Silence. Hello. Jason said. Dr. I waited 3 seconds. 2. 3. I spun the chair. Hello, Jason, I said. Hello, Tiffany. The silence that followed was absolute. It was the silence of a vacuum. Jason's face went white. Not pale. White. Like a sheet of paper. His mouth opened but no sound came out. Tiffany was beautiful. Younger than me. Blonde. She was wearing a white sundress. She looked confused. She looked from me to Jason, then back to me. Who is this? Tiffany asked. He looked at Jason. Jason? Who is she? Jason stood up. He scrambled up, actually. Sarah. What are you doing here? You need to leave. You're having an episode. You're following me. He turned to Tiffany, his voice frantic. Baby, this is her. This is the ex. I told you she was stalking me. I have a restraining order pending. A restraining order? I asked calmly. I didn't stand up. I crossed my legs. I felt like a queen. That's interesting, Jason. Since you kissed me goodbye this morning and told me you loved me. Shut up. Jason screamed. She's lying. She's off her meds. Tiffany stood up slowly. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at Jason. The ex. You told me you've been divorced for 2 years. You told me she lived in Ohio. She's crazy, Tiff. She thinks we're still married. It's a delusion. I reached into my bag. I pulled out my iPad. Tiffany, I said. My name is Sarah Miller. I am Jason's current wife. We live at 42 Oak Creek Lane. We had pasta for dinner last night. He told me he was coming here to discuss my anxiety issues. I tapped the screen. I had prepared a slideshow. Yes, a slideshow. I connected it to the room's AirPlay. The code was taped to the table. The big screen on the wall flickered to life. Slide 1. Bank of America statement yesterday. This is our joint account, I said using my best boardroom voice. Note the withdrawal for $4,200 for Delta Airlines. And here. Slide 2, the wedding planner invoice. Is the invoice for Jason and Tiffany's wedding. Paid for by Sarah Miller. Jason lunged for the TV. Turn it off. Sarah, I swear to God, turn it off. Don't touch it, Tiffany said. Her voice was ice. She grabbed his arm. Let her finish. Tiffany, please, Jason begged. He looked sweaty. The charm was gone. The mask had slipped and underneath was just a scared, greedy little boy. Slide 3, the text messages. I had downloaded his text while he was in the shower that morning. Here is a text from Jason to his mother. I read aloud. Don't worry, Mom. Sarah doesn't know about Tiff. I'm going to get her to sign over the house equity before I file. I just need a few more months to gaslight her into thinking she's incompetent. Gaslight. He used the word. The room was silent again. Jason slumped onto the sofa. He put his head in his hands. Tiffany stared at the screen. She read the text. Then she looked at me. He told me you were abusive, she whispered. He told me you hit him. He told me he needed therapy to get over the trauma of your marriage. He tells me I'm the abuser too, I said. He tells me my anxiety ruins his life. Tiffany looked down at her hand. At the ring. The ring I had paid for. She took it off. It hit the mahogany table with a heavy clack. $4,000, Tiffany said. That's what he told me it cost. Try 6, I said. I have the receipt. Tiffany laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. He told me he was a partner at his firm. Junior associate, I corrected. He told me he owned the house. My inheritance bought it. My name is on the deed. Jason looked up. Sarah, please. We can talk about this at home. Just, don't do this here. There is no home, Jason, I said. I changed the locks an hour ago. My brother is there right now with a moving truck. Your things, the things you paid for, which isn't much, are in a storage unit. Here is the key. I tossed a small brass key onto the table next to the ring. You can't do that, he shouted. That's my house. Actually, I said, I spoke to Mrs. Gable. Since you used marital funds to finance an affair and since I have proof of financial fraud, well, let's just say the judge is going to be very interested in this PowerPoint. I stood up. I smoothed my blazer. I'm canceling your credit cards in 10 minutes, I added. So if you want to get an Uber to your storage unit, I'd do it now. I looked at Tiffany. I'm sorry he lied to you. You deserve better. Tiffany looked at Jason. She picked up her purse. I'm taking the car, she said to him. Tiff, wait. No. I'm taking the car. My name is on the lease. You just co-signed. And since you have no credit cards. He shrugged. Good luck walking. He walked out the door. He didn't look back. I looked at Jason one last time. He looked small. Defeated. The monster had shrunk. My anxiety isn't the problem, Jason, I said. You were. I walked out. I walked past the reception desk. Chloe was pretending to type furiously. He's all yours, I whispered as I passed. He gave me a thumbs up. I walked out into the sunlight. It was 4:15 p.m. The air smelled like rain and exhaust fumes. It was the best thing I had ever smelled. I got in my car. I locked the doors. And then I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw. Not a scream of fear. A scream of release. 5 years of holding my breath. 5 years of walking on eggshells. 5 years of thinking I was the broken one. I drove to a motel. I wasn't going back to the house yet. I needed space. My phone blew up. Text from Jason. Sarah, please. You're ruining my life. See, I love you. I hate you. I blocked him. Then came the text from his mom. How could you do this to him? Blocked. Then a text from an unknown number. It's Tiffany. I'm sorry. I didn't know. He's a psychopath. I flushed the cake samples down the toilet. Hope you win everything. I sent back a heart emoji. The divorce took 8 months. It was ugly. He tried to claim spousal support. He tried to claim my anxiety made me unfit to manage my own finances. But Mrs. Gable was a shark. We had the receipts. We had the texts. We had the testimony from Dr. Evans' office confirming he used therapy sessions for wedding planning. The judge, a stern woman with glasses on a chain, didn't find Jason charming. She found him repulsively arrogant. When the gavel came down, I got the house. I got the car. I got full repayment of the wedding funds, deducted from his share of the 401k. He got his clothes and his debt. He lost his job too. Turns out partners at law firms don't like it when their associates get flagged for financial fraud. It's a liability. The victory lap wasn't a party. It wasn't fireworks. It was a Tuesday 1 year later. I was in my kitchen. The same kitchen. But the air was different. Lighter. I was cooking pasta. I added as much oregano as I wanted. I heard a car pull into the driveway. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. The door opened. It was David. A guy I met at a hiking group. He was kind. He had a laugh that boomed. He drove a beat-up truck and thought therapy was pretty cool. Hey, he called out. I brought dessert. But don't get mad. It's chocolate. I love chocolate, I yelled back. I looked out the window. The sun was setting. I still have anxiety. I still take medication. I still have days where the world feels too loud. But I don't have Jason. And that makes all the difference. I turned off the stove. The silence in the house wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful. I was free.